In the last few hours, a hugely important milestone has been reached for Italy in the field of space exploration. In fact, during an event at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, NASA presented the team of astronauts who will take part in the third mission of the Artemis program. In fact, in addition to 3 American astronauts, the presence of the Italian Luca Parmitano was announced on board in the important role of mission pilot, making him the first European to participate in the program for the return of humans to the moon. This news is a remarkable surprise for our country, for Italy, but not totally unexpected, in fact. In the previous video of this series, Spazio Italia, a spin-off, let's call it that, of Gens Italia written by Francesco Moro, who manages this series. Francesco had told us about the important role of our aerospace industrial system in the Artemis project and how, in light of crucial recent changes, our country would evaluate, together with our partners, the best ways to ensure our country's presence in the future of the program. You surely know Luca Parmitano, but let's do a brief recap of who he is. He has been with the European Space Agency since 2009 and is one of the most experienced astronauts in Europe. He is also a well-known face here in Italy, even on social media, thanks to his gentle yet professional manner. Personally, I have followed him in some of his interviews and I have always liked him as a person. Even recently in the interview, in his statement when he found out he had been selected, well, I saw a lot of Italy in him. During his career, Parmitano has broken many records and held leading roles at an international level, greatly increasing worldwide recognition of Italian capabilities in human space exploration. Parmitano has spent a total of 366 days in space. Currently second to another well-known figure in Italy, Samantha Cristoforetti, in 2 long missions aboard the International Space Station, also becoming the first Italian to serve as commander of the station. He was also the first Italian astronaut to perform an extravehicular activity, better known as a spacewalk, completing a total of 6 spacewalks between 2013 and 2020. Luca's career, born in Sicily in 1970, however, began in the Air Force starting in 1995. Since 2001, for example, he has flown on board the AMX aircraft of the 13th Flight Group in Amendola. In 2007, he was assigned to the Experimental Flight Unit, becoming a pilot, test pilot, and experimental pilot, qualifying on more than 20 models of military airplanes and helicopters. Going back to the mission, even though Artemis III will not see our Parmitano landing on the moon, the mission will be a fundamental part of the US-led program in preparation for Artemis IV, which could mark the return of humans to the lunar surface for the first time since the Apollo missions. The mission involving Luca will take place without going beyond low Earth orbit. It will aim to test activities, equipment, and systems that are crucial for the future of the program. In particular, the team of astronauts who will be launched aboard the Orion capsule by an SLS rocket will have to test docking with the prototypes of the 2 lunar landers selected for Artemis. And the proper functioning of these? Afterwards, the 4 men will return to Earth with a splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. During the presentation, the NASA administrator outlined new details of Artemis III and confirmed the intention to launch the mission during the summer of 2027, following a decidedly ambitious schedule. In fact, this mission was announced only a few months ago with the intention of reducing the risks of the future moon landing. It's important to point out that the entire program has already experienced several delays. After all, we're talking about going into space and aiming for the moon, as well as changes in recent years due to difficulties and increased costs in the development of the Space Launch System rocket and the Orion capsule. But now the main obstacles for the next stages of the program could come from NASA's private partners, who have to provide the landers to transport astronauts and, of course, various equipment to the surface of the moon. The first one, called the Human Landing System, is a massive vehicle developed by Elon Musk's SpaceX based on the Starship launch system. A fully reusable rocket, and as you may have seen, it has been under development and testing for years at the Starbase site in Texas. Given the size and revolutionary nature of the system, its development has predictably experienced delays compared to Musk's own optimistic forecasts. So for Artemis III, a third-generation version of Starship will be used, which recently conducted its inaugural test. The second lander, Blue Moon, selected by NASA in 2023, is instead built by the company Blue Origin, owned by billionaire Jeff Bezos. This vehicle is conceptually more similar to the famous LM lunar module used during the Apollo missions, and it is significantly smaller in size and capabilities compared to the one from SpaceX. Blue Moon is expected to be launched into Earth orbit by the New Glenn rocket from the same company. Currently, however, launches of Blue Origin's large rocket are suspended after a major accident. You must have seen it for sure. It happened on May 29th. The rocket, while being prepared for the fourth launch of the New Glenn system, exploded on the launch pad, severely damaging Blue Origin's only active launch site. In this case, several months will be needed to rebuild the complex, with a realistic return to operations not before 2027. In the coming months, there will be many situations to keep an eye on, which will inevitably influence the preparations for the launch of this mission, which will also mark a historic moment for Italy. That said, that's all for today. I remind you that this episode was written by Francesco Moro. I invite you to follow his work. You can find it in the highlighted sources in the first comment under the YouTube channel Gens Italia. Once again, I thank Francesco for sending me this material, and now it's your turn. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this news, and leave a like and share this content on your social media. See you soon here on Gens Italia with the latest news.